Hi, it is Friday, May 28th. Welcome back to the garden. We had a thunderstorm complex go through last night. It poured rain. We didn't get any kind of tornadoes, but it was about 60 degrees this morning. It only got up to about 70, and it is beautiful out here right now. It's hard to think that it's going to be over 100 degrees here pretty quick. But this is something we're going to look at, is succession planting. Now, if you remember, we planted 3 kinds of spinach. We've been taking them out a little bit at a time, but as with all the leafy vegetables, as it warms up, they're going to tend to want to bolt. We have a lot of things out here going to seed, which is good, but we can't have everything going to seed. So, what do you succession plant to follow up with what you've already had for the spring? We already harvested the main flower off of the broccoli. And as these go ahead and continue to make flowers, we're going to go ahead and harvest them. The minute they look like they're going to bolt, we're going to have to pull them out. But a lot of the lettuce, the arugula especially, bolts early. It doesn't like the heat at all. There are some very heat tolerant lettuces. We're not going to plant any of those right now. We're going to go ahead and stick with the root crops. In the deep mulch, beets and carrots seem to do really, really well. We're going to go ahead and get a few more of those in. When you're laying out the garden, taking succession planting into consideration has a bit to do with it. We laid ours out so we could continue to plant the root crops on the south end and not be shaded out by the heavier growth of some of the taller stuff that we have trellised, set up for trellising. Don't want the tomatoes or peppers or potatoes or squash to shade out our root crops. We plan a succession plant down here on the south end. We're going to go ahead and harvest some lettuce, some spinach, and then we're going to go ahead and put in some seeds and get another crop going. So come on, let's plant. Now that is beautiful. That is gorgeous. That was 2 of them. You got 2 of them. Look how nice. So that's all the lettuce we're going to take out. That's more than we can clean up for tonight. But since we took all the spinach out, we're going to go ahead and lay some seeds in here. We're going to get our second crop going. Well, let's go ahead and get some beets in. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut a little furrow here because we're going to put some carrots in also. But even with as much rain as we got last night, the top is dried out. See how moist that is? And I'll just go ahead and do this by hand. Now with everything in the deep mulch, we're not pulling these up. We're going to leave those roots down in there. We'll just cut them off. Dig back till you're at the soil so you can plant again. Just rough it up just a little bit. Let's see what we got. We're going to go ahead and set in some of these Detroit dark reds. Just like with Roost Stout, we just want soil contact. This is roughed up so it's pretty easy to cover those. Just tap them down. Really good soil contact. And this is good and moist, so we don't even have to water these in. Just a light little bit of mulch on top. And there you go. Succession planting beets. Like these Oriental dark carrots. We still have plenty to do another succession a little later in the summer. We're going to go about halfway with these. When we plant our next batch of carrots, we're going to use the burlap. It will be good and warm by then. Got this rainbow mix. We're going to plant the other half with that. We're going to plant that heavy. Just sprinkle it over the ground. This is good and roughed up. Like with Roost Stout, you don't want these buried too deep, but you want soil contact, so going over it with a pat, a light little bit. We'll make sure we keep the moisture on that. As you remove your spring crops, what do you want to plant back? If you keep that in mind, you can keep your garden going all summer long. We decided not to harvest any cabbage yet tonight. I think we're going to have coleslaw on Memorial Day. As soon as we start taking the cabbage out, I'm going to want something to go back in this area. The root crops do pretty good in the heat of the summer in the deep mulch. That deep mulch keeps the temperature of the ground a lot lower than the outside air, so they don't have the tendency to bolt. Not so much with the leafy stuff. The leafy stuff will still bolt when it gets hot. We got 1, 2, now planted the third succession of carrots. We've been eating on beets all winter long. We've got the second, and now planted the third succession of beets. Well, fourth really, because we have some growing in the bale. So with a little planting, you can keep your garden going all summer long. I want to thank you for coming to the garden, and I hope this is helpful. But until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and God bless you. Come on, let's plant. Let's go plant garden.